All right, you've mentioned throughout about the to be mentioned with his dad, Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, or guys like that, that it's important. I mean, we saw Andy Reid, who Dusty Baker right now in Houston baseball. We've talked about him where I'm from, is the Andy Reid of baseball, Hall of Fame coach, waiting for that championship. Andy got his, and we know that. You've really, I mean, like you shoulder to shoulder with Andy. You know all about that. Dusty Baker waiting on his, but Hall of Fame manager. Well, there's a Hall of Fame coach in Mike Shanahan, we know, and now his son has been there as a coordinator, been there as a head coach, got real close. We don't judge by real close. How much pressure's on it?
There's a lot. There's a lot. And look, I mean, he went to Super Bowls with Matt Ryan, who was the MVP of the league that year, and he's been to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now you're taking a kid that's got 2 NFL starts, and you're saying Super Bowl or bust. Like that's, to me, his father got there with John Elway, who, his boss lives forever in Canton, and he was just a player. And he was able, like, and Andy Reid got Patrick Mahomes. He couldn't do it with Donovan McNabb. Not Donovan, but Mahomes is a better player. And so sometimes that head coach quarterback relationship is what you need. I mean, Sean McVay said, I can't do it with Jared Goff, but I could do it with Matt Stafford, and he was right. And so that quarterback head coach relationship, it's just got to be that dynamic. And to say, if Kyle would do that with a Trey Lance either this year or next year, to me, that just elevates Kyle to a different level. Third Super Bowl, a Super Bowl win with a very young, inexperienced quarterback. I mean, that would really say an awful lot about him when you talk about, the great coaches in this league.
Brian Baldinger, I'm Sean Salisbury, 95.7 The Game. Great insight by Baldy here as we're going through our red and gold preview heading into the 2022 season and high expectations for these football 49ers here. All right, Baldy, you're a specialist at all this, but let me go to the thing you'll go to the ends of the earth for your fellas. When I say 49ers offensive line, word association, what comes first to your mind?
I got questions. I mean, Alex Mack was a great player, great person, great player, smart as can be. He steps aside. So maybe Jake Brendel can do it. I don't know if he can or not. Laken Tomlinson started 85 straight games for the 49ers. He never got talked about because he never made mistakes and he didn't have penalties. And he played next to the best, offensive lineman in football. So you got a hold there. Maybe Aaron Banks is that guy, and we got to see what McGlinchey looks like. McKivitz did not look good in the preseason. It's been a question mark at right tackle. Like, I got questions. They got a lot of new faces in there. It's a good system being offensive lineman in, but it is, I've been there when, Alex Gibbs was teaching us in Denver. I know Alex. I know how hard it gets coached. There isn't Mike McDaniel to help this year. They have had a lot of roster turnover in the coaching staff. And so I do think all those things is going to make it tougher this year up front to run the ball as successfully as they have. And so I have questions about it in a word.
All right, Baldy, pocket guy, me, Jimmy, pocket guy, right? Make the transition to Trey Lance. Tell me the difference in not only his thinking, where the head, I'm always, when I'm watching end zone shots of a quarterback, I want to know where their head is, right? If the first read goes away, does the head go to the offensive line or does it finish through progressions? And we know the difference. You've seen it. You've studied it a million times. So the trust factor between the two, some new faces and new names and new bodies that you have questions about. So not only for Trey Lance trusting that those guys will do it, but now they're going to change the launch point more. You and I both know that they have to, because they got to utilize the skill that you mentioned about running in the preseason. Not enough of it. You don't want 20 of them, but you don't want one of them. So somewhere in between there, does the changing a launch point put more pressure and those guys not knowing where Trey Lance is going to be added factor or worse for a line that hasn't been together very long?
It's a new dance, Sean. It's a new dance that the quarterback and the line's got to play. There has been plenty of examples in preseason when Trey didn't trust the protection and didn't step up, and he had time to get to number 2 and sometimes even number 3. And he was willing to pull it down and do something with it. As soon as the eyes drop, the play's over, Sean.
Right.
So we know that. Jimmy was, for all of the complaints I heard about Jimmy, nobody could ever say that that wasn't as tough a player as it was on the field. Like that guy had plenty of toughness to stay in there and take the hits that he did to make some of the plays that he did. I mean, now Trey has got this luxury of being able to run and get out of the pocket. But that luxury is a luxury in some ways and it's a curse in others. Because will you learn to stay in there and not use your safety valve to just to get out? Because when you get out, everything changes. The routes change, the scramble drills on. And so there is a real balance there between having the luxury of a guy that is big and strong and fast and can do things on the run versus just making plays right from the pocket the way Aaron and Tom and Drew and all the guys that, we talked about for 2 decades do.
Baldy, it's such a great point because the extension of the play is so nice. You want that when all it all goes to hell in a handbasket. But the other side of it, and I've gone back, find me a guy. And people may like when people say Steve Young was a pocket guy first and a runner second. Mm-hmm. All the guys, find me a guy, I guess maybe a little bit of Russ Wilson when he won the Super Bowl there, probably, but he's gotten better. Find me a guy who's beat you on the edge first and from that hula hoop in the pocket second that wins Super Bowls. Normally, you got to be able to deliver the ball, process information, deliver the ball on time with accuracy. If you can do those 3 things, you got a chance to win championships. I'm not saying Trey can't, but what happens is your biggest strength sometimes becomes a weakness. Am I right, Baldy? Because you try to rely on it too much, it becomes a crutch. And a big key will be where Trey Lance is in that progression in his emotional and mental state going into his first full season of starting.
Sean, I have to do something real quick. 1 second. Because my battery is going to run out. These things happen in live TV. There we go.
Hey, listen, this is what makes it great.
Yeah.
We didn't stop that. We're still rolling, brother.
Still
there
rolling,
you go.
buddy.
So,
yeah.
And not saying he can't do it, but it can become a crutch that you don't want to lean on. You want that to be like the bonus, right? The whipped cream on top of that sundae. You don't want it to be the sundae. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. No, that would make sense, Sean. It's a good analogy. Look, it's a battle that all these young guys, Lamar's got to figure out. Josh Allen has figured it out. Like he worked on his footwork. He worked on his pocket presence. Yes, he is a beast on the edge, and he'll put the ball in his hands and run people over. He'll do those things, but he's finding Gabriel Davis on the second read in the corner of the end zone from the pocket. And he's learned how to extend plays and keep his eyes down the field. Now, he's incredibly gifted. He's bigger than most,
right.
Like all those things. But Justin Herbert has kind of figured that out. So these young guys that have the ability to run, Mahomes is as good as anybody at just keeping the play alive, but not always just becoming a runner, although he's very good at it. So you got to be able to, if you're going to move, you better be able to keep your eyes down the field and really adjust those angles to throw the ball on the move from different angles. And we've got to see. We got to see if Trey can become that guy. He's got so little experience doing it.
That's the voice of Brian Baldinger here on 95.7 The Game, the red and gold preview here as we head into the 2022 season. All right, Baldy, I don't know how he does more. He got paid and should have. Wise move not to trade him. I'm a huge Deebo Samuel fan. There's some good ones. That's the best Swiss Army knife maybe we've ever seen in football, considering what he does. How do you do that again? How in the world does he repeat the season that I think has put him in the top 20 or 25 as voted on by the players at NFL Network? So where does he go from here? How do you implement it to make even more out of him?
Yeah, we had almost, counting the postseason, had almost 90 carries, and he said it. Like, I believe him. Like, you talk to running backs that aren't used to being hit, and all of a sudden you get hit 90 times. Watch Aaron Donald jump on his back in an NFC Championship game. Like, he is as strong as he is, as talented as he is when he gets a chance to run it. They've got to limit that if they want him for the long term, because I think that could stop him from being a 10-year veteran. It's got to be more luxury. Now, he took that role last year because of all the injuries to all the backs that they had. You just hope that, drafting Tyrion Davis-Price and getting Wilson back and, keeping Elijah Mitchell, comfortable with the 15 snaps a game, whatever it is. You just hope you don't have to use him as much. it's got to be more of a luxury type play to me versus a need play that they had a year ago. He was excellent at it, but I want to see him on the fly sweeps, an occasional put him back there in the pistol with Trey, let them try to figure out who's going to get the ball, come up with some formations like that. But like I just don't want to see him having to carry it as much as he did a year ago.
You want him in space on the edge more, right? Even if it's catching bubble screens, if it's catching smoke screens and getting him going. Aside from running the routes, you want him more in space as opposed to having to run that ball between tackles.
Well, he's running between the tackles. He's taking hits from the middle linebackers,
right?
Tackles, and those hits are just
brutal.
Feel. Yeah. And so I think he felt that last year. I think he enjoyed it. We all loved him. I mean, for many fans in this league, he was their favorite player because of the way that he played, and he got paid, handsomely for some of that, no doubt. But I think he's got I think he can become a better receiver. Like, I think he's got to catch the ball better than he did a year ago. Catch more contested balls better than he did. And so I think there's improvement at the receiver position. But I think, yes, like he should be out there in space and not taking these thumps from these inside guys.